Can you hear me?
Yep, looks like you'll have to share
Okay.
the slideshow again, though.
Yep. Let's try that again because it's would not unmute me. So good afternoon, everybody. Let me get this pulled back up again. Multitasking. Okay, I bet you're seeing the wrong screen again.
Yep.
There's a message in the way. Hold on a second. There. How's that? Does that look better?
Yep, that looks good.
All right. Well, thanks for having us today. My name is Ginny Malcomson. I work for Polk County Conservation. I'm the water quality coordinator for the Polk County Conservation Water Quality Monitoring Program. Got lots of slides, some general information about our program, and then we'll get into the meat of what we found last year. But before I get started, Amanda, do you want to reintroduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Amanda Brown. I'm the quality control officer for our water monitoring program and an ecologist here with Polk County Conservation.
So I'll be doing the bulk of the discussion of the program today. Amanda will jump in as needed or as desired. And if there's any questions, we'll both field the questions at the very end. So we'll start with some general information about our program. As you know, Iowa is primarily an agricultural state. We rank 49th in the country with public land available for public use. And Polk County is a little bit different than the general Iowa. We are primarily an urban county with some ag land towards the north of our county. And we have Polk County Conservation manages 4% of public land of the county. And here's a map of all of the Polk County Conservation land highlighted in green. And our water quality monitoring program has these 70 sites that we take care of monitoring twice a month, and I'll get into the details of that. Obviously, not all of the sites are on Polk County Conservation property. We have partners and that have helped us identify appropriate sites for our, and we'll get into who our partners are in a little bit too. So before that, we want to talk about a little bit about why we monitor. Polk County Conservation, our mission is to provide the citizens of Polk County with quality outdoor recreation, conservation education, and a long-term protection of Polk County's natural heritage. And if we're inviting people into our waterways and outdoor recreation, we want to know what our waterways, the quality of our waterways are. So that was the primary mission. Our board also has a water quality initiative that will be a leader of managing for and advocating on behalf of improving water quality in Polk County and the state of Iowa. And so with that, we created a mission for our program to monitor the health of streams throughout Polk County in order to bring awareness to potential issues while facilitating steps towards solutions for improved water quality. And with that, we started a program and we identified the goals of our program. Essentially, we're establishing trends for all of the sites of the creeks and waterways, and we want to track our changes. Identify areas of concern, act as kind of a red flag network to be the eyes and the ears on the ground, and also increase public awareness. You already kind of saw where we do the monitoring, but we'll dive into that a little bit deeper. We broke it down into the watersheds. So if you're interested in a particular watershed, which I know you are, we have the Beaver Creek watershed sites identified. Big Creek, Camp Mud and Spring, 4 Mile Creek, Jordan Creek, Sailor Creek. I'm sorry, that one's Rock Creek, Sailor Creek, Walnut Creek, Yater Creek, and then several creek watersheds up in the northeast part of the county. And then we also have identified the ones that are in the Des Moines area, which is Des Moines River, plus a couple others we threw in there, just so we can highlight the Des Moines area. Our field monitors are lots of different folks. We started out with 32 sites originally, which just had Polk County staff monitoring. And then that for the first year, and then the next year we doubled our number of sites, and obviously you can't do that all alone. So working with John Swanson and Amanda and several of the cities, we identified other sites and invited the cities to participate in the program. So City of Ankeny, City of Johnston, City of Altoona, Des Moines and Des Moines Park and Rec, West Des Moines and West Des Moines Park and Rec. And then also public volunteers were invited in to monitor these sites. And as we look at the data, it's about a third of each. Public volunteers do about a third of our assessments. City partners do about a third, and Polk County staff do about a third. As far as budgeting and time, we didn't want to expect our field monitors to purchase kits because they're quite expensive at $550 for a kit, and then $245 approximately a year per field monitor to maintain the equipment. So Polk County Conservation provides that monitoring supplies to all the public and partnering cities volunteers. We also provide training and support. I take care of all the data management and making and writing the reports. So field monitors' commitment is basically their time, approximately 20 minutes at the site, and then their travel time. We do offer training and certification. It's similar to the Iowa Water Program. If you've ever participated in the DNR's Iowa Water Program that was in existence until 2016. It's very similar to their program. We also have a quality assurance project plan that if you're having trouble sleeping at night, I'm happy to send you and you can read through it. We provide our training online as well as in person, and then we also hold an annual meeting for our field monitors. So what do we do? Once a year, we do a habitat and biological assessment. So we've trained our volunteers and our field monitors to do a habitat assessment, which do some basic measuring of the creek and identifying substrates and things like that. And they also do a biological assessment of catching macroinvertebrates in the different micro habitats that are available in the creek's reach. And then we quantify that into an index of biotic integrity, which is a mathematical equation. So we can use that mathematical equation along with our chemical and physical and habitat assessments to identify the quality of the water quality, determining water quality. In July, they also go out and look for benthic macroinvertebrates. Here's a couple pictures that are sent to me when people have a hard time identifying something, or if they just think something is cool, they'll send me a picture. We identify the different macroinvertebrates, and they also count how many they have. And last year's results, the drought really had done a number on our macroinvertebrates. We only had 6 sites that had good population of macroinvertebrates. Most were either fair or poor. Then several sites were dry or didn't find any macroinvertebrates at all. So it was a rough year after 3 years of drought. We also do chemical and physical assessments. Our field monitors go out twice a month, or a volunteer will go out the first week, and then a city or a Polk County employee will go out the third week of the month. And we take weather, stream characteristics, and we do chemical analysis. These are basic strips. As you can see, this is a phosphate one, but we also, the pH strips, nitrite strips, and chloride titrators, and then the ampules with dissolved oxygen and phosphate. So the chemical testing is pretty basic chemistry. The results for the nitrate, summary of the nitrate from last year. We did see higher rates in the agricultural areas, particularly in the spring. Elevated levels up to about 20 milligrams per liter. We exceeded the drinking water standard which is 10 milligrams per liter at 27 different sites throughout the year, and 11 times we exceeded the 20 milligrams. We try and take our data and put it in a visual form so people can just look at the report and kind of get an idea, a snapshot of what it looks like. These are our seasonal averages. The bigger the green dot, the better the quality is. starting with nitrates being a 0, that are the big dots, and then they get smaller as the water quality or the concentration of nitrate increases, and then they would eventually turn red if it hits our threshold. And then as the red dot gets bigger, it's worsening quality. So here's what it looked like for our fall average for each one of our sites. And then winter, spring, and summer. We also do nitrite, which is quickly converted to nitrates if there's oxygen available. So you don't expect to see it very often unless there's pollution or drought is causing problems. So because of the drought, we did have higher nitrite concentrations as our flows were lower and we had stagnant water. So we were seeing some nitrate concentrations at 18 different sites, and in every month except for December and February. And here's the fall average. Winter, spring, and summer. Our pH results, which is the measure of acidity of the water, typical range is between 6 and 8. We range from 4 to 9 typically for averages. And this is what our fall average was when the drought was particularly difficult. Winter, spring, and summer. Dissolved oxygen, necessary for aquatic life, and 5 milligrams per liter is considered the lowest threshold. So obviously we want our waters to be at least 6 or above. We range from 1 to 12, and there is great variability throughout the day, throughout the season. Typically winter has higher dissolved oxygen rates than any other time of year. As the water warms, it holds less oxygen, and as we have slow flow, our water will warm as well. So, whoops, we missed one here. There we go. Fall dissolved oxygen. Winter, spring, and summer. Kind of what we expect to see is the dissolved oxygen drop when it got hot. Phosphate, it's a nutrient just like nitrate is. We range from 0 to 8 milligrams per liter, and our threshold is 0.6. So that's much higher than we expect. Due to fertilizer runoff, could be from animal waste or human waste, industrial effluents, and also natural phenomenon. So as we experience higher, you'll see more red dots this fall than we have in the past. Winter, spring, summer. And last but not least, chloride. Typically, we expect road salts to wash into our waterways in the wintertime and early spring. We did have an abnormal threshold. Our abnormal threshold is around 100 milligrams per liter because salt is not, we don't have salty water, salt water here. So any kind of salt is a little bit unexpected. We were above that threshold 440 times at 54 of our sites. So as we have a chronic issue during the drought for sure, with lots of them over 600 milligrams per liter. One of them was over 1,000. Fall in the wintertime, we got kind of as expected. Keep our roads safe, and spring also to be expected as the snow melts, those late season storms. But summertime is unexpected. You don't typically see chlorides in the summertime. So. The data that I showed you before is available in our annual report, but if you want to dig deeper into a specific site, say, all of our data is uploaded to the EPA's website, and this is their website that is pretty easily accessible for people. How's my waterway? And you can turn on and off monitoring locations, and then various other discharges, water bodies. You can play around with the website to get the information that you're looking for. I'm also happy to send information to people if they're looking for specific site data. As I said, our annual report has all of our data in it. has a summary of our general information, kind of what we just saw, the seasonal information, and then you can dive into each site a little bit deeper. It has the averages for each site in it as well. So as you're navigating the annual report that's available on our website, when you get to the map of sites after the summary information, you can click on any of those that you're interested in. It will take you directly to the site information, which is shown on the right there. Other things that we're out there looking for are red flags and unusual discoveries, and I've highlighted a couple of them here. We find good things, which are really great for our field monitors to keep them motivated to go out into the field and see the good things. They find the bad things, and they find some ugly things. Not dangerous necessarily, but certainly not pleasant to see. They find unusual discoveries. So a couple of years ago, or several years ago now, 5 years ago, Joel found a frog in December, which was not expected, on the picture on the left. And the picture on the right, our field monitor, Nikki, went out and found a frog that was becoming lunch for the snake. So those were interesting, unusual discoveries, which keeps our field monitors going out in the field. But they also find things that we don't want to find, areas of concern. We're grateful that they found it, though. We had a City of Des Moines field monitor go out, and they regularly monitor Easter Lake Outlet, found some unusual water, and it was our gate valve was not completely closed, and it was leaking from the bottom of the lake. So we had low dissolved oxygen. So thankfully he was out there in this remote area where people don't typically go, and discovered that right away, and we could get the gate fixed. So we're grateful that he was out catching that. And then in 2020, during our fall snapshot, our field monitor took this picture of a cyanobacteria bloom at Saylorville Lake, which was really helpful for use for educational purposes, as to get a great picture like that in unfortunate circumstances. In the 23, we had a field monitor out in March during the drought. So all of a sudden there was green water, and a fair amount of it coming down Yater Creek, and that was not to be expected. We reported it to the DNR, and they found the City of Des Moines had a water main break. So that was washing everything downstream. So they were able to repair that quickly. And just this last month, we had a field monitor out monitoring at 4 Mile Creek and found a white discharge, and found out that the nearby house was had a basement sink that was directly emptying into the creek. And that's the washout from the latex paint supplies when they're washing their brushes. That was reported to the DNR. The DNR is taking care of that. But not everything's bad, thankfully. During one of our macroinvertebrate surveys, they found a mussel at Little 4 Mile. That was an exciting find. And then the tadpole shrimp on the right was found in Rock Creek up in Ginny. Another one of our goals is to establish trends to track our changes, so we have data that we can compare. You know, as we put conservation practices in place, we can compare our data to our past trends. And we had a 5-year report that we put together that is also available on our website that kind of gives us a benchmark for people to compare future data back to, see if we're improving or getting worse. We also strive to educate the public, so we have some static kiosks throughout Polk County and public areas where our field monitors update with the current results that they get. Also has some general information about water quality. We do outreach programs through the spring and fall snapshot, and I'll talk a little bit more about those in a little bit. We do school programs, civic group outreach, watershed cleanups, etc. Our spring 23 snapshot was Tuesday, May 23rd last year. We monitored 113 sites and 34 lab samples. Des Moines Waterworks analyzes our lab samples not only to compare our chemical analysis with what the field monitors get, but they also do an E. coli and a total coliform. evaluation as well. For these events, we don't just do our 70 normal sites. We invite the public to participate in a one-day snapshot. So we're adding another 40 to 50 sites, depending on how many volunteers we get to participate. They arrive, we train them, we hand them their equipment, and then get them the sites that they're going to visit. And they will do a snapshot assessment, which is the same assessments that we do on a regular basis, at 4 or 5, 6 different sites, depending on how close they are together and how many volunteers we have. And last year we actually expanded to more of a regional snapshot. So we had Greene County, Story County, and several other organizations that were participating as well. So it's expanding back to what the DNR used to do for the snapshot. Fall snapshot was very similar. We assessed 90 sites and had 34 lab samples, but we also added some microbial source tracking. Claire Ruby, who used to be at the DNR, is now a Drake professor, wanted to try out a new source tracking technique. And so she had 3 different sites that she did some source tracking on. So she was participating as well. And that one was also a regional event with Hamilton County joining us as well. After the report, we had, after the fall snapshot, we put together a snapshot report. Similar makeup as to the annual report that we do for our regular monitored sites. The maps of sites on the right, if you click on any of those sites, it will take you specifically to that site, and you can look at the spring and fall results, and then also look at the lab results that Des Moines Waterworks has provided. This year's events, we're still looking for, I think, around 6 people to participate. And if we get more than that, we can expand it to add some more sites. Our next one is Tuesday, May 21st. And the fall is September 17th. There's a QR code on the top there that will get people to the volunteer page where you can sign up to participate in that program, or you can give me a call and I can add that information to the snapshot. We would love to have you. We also have watershed cleanups, and I wanted to highlight some of the ones that happen on a pretty regular basis. The River Run Garbage Grab was this last weekend. The Des Moines River annual cleanup. Uplift Urbandale has an annual event that we participated in last year. North Walnut Creek cleanup is an event that a field monitor organizes. He's done 2 or 3 of them now, where he just gets various volunteers to participate in cleaning up the entire watershed. And we have very active field monitors in the Easter Lake and Gator Creek watershed. They can plan their own. We provide all the resources so that the field monitors can come up, they can create their own watershed cleanup. We also provide resources for families or for teachers. The park packs that are the blue packs on the left are available in several locations throughout Polk County. And I have one more if anybody else wants one. The materials on the right that you see on the table are what's inside the park packs. It's full of activities and books and science experiments and monitoring equipment that families can check out, take home, and for a couple weeks, and they're free. And then they could just pick what activities spark their interest and give them a try. The teacher tubs are very similar, but there's just have lots more resources so they can, an entire class can participate. And those are also free. Ours are available at Jester Park Nature Center, but they're also available in Altoona Library, Isaac Walton League, Des Moines, or Polk County Public Works. And I'm going to forget some. Clive has one. City of Des Moines Central Library, I believe, has one. There's probably a couple more out there. We are looking for some more field monitors to participate in our program. We have maybe 8 slots left for volunteers. We're striving to have volunteers monitor the first week of the month for regular monitoring, and Polk County employees and city employees monitor the 3rd week of the month, so that we kind of share the responsibility. Kind of provides a buddy system so that field monitors, if they're going on vacation, they can reach out to a friend and have something. The information is still covered. We're still getting the data on a regular basis. So we have online learning modules so that our volunteers can go through the training on their own pace. And we also have in-person training, which we have available on Saturday, June 1st. And with that, if you have any more or have any questions, or if you'd like more information, there's my contact information. And I will stop sharing my screen. There.
All right, thanks, Ginny. We do have a couple
Thank
of
you.
questions.
Okay.
So I will go ahead and share those. If anyone else has any questions right now, go ahead and type them in the chat on the bottom of your screen, and I will read them to the presenters so that everyone can hear the answer. So here's the first one. What are your biggest challenges or obstacles to doing this great work of monitoring and making science available to the public? Do you need more funding or more people to monitor? This is from Jennifer Terry with Sistra. She's wondering if any other organizations or agencies would be able to help you. And thank you for your hard work.
Well, thank you. That's a hard question to answer because, of course, funds would be helpful. Because it's a double-fisted problem. We need more volunteers, and we want our volunteers to stay. And so trying to keep them engaged and provide appreciation for them is, they go hand in hand. We would love to have organizations that would sponsor a lunch for them, for instance, for the snapshot, provide materials so that they have all the equipment they want. Because I do have a very limited budget, so we can only do so much for our volunteers and for our field monitors. So that both things are necessary. So if there's anything anyone can suggest, that I would be happy to entertain some suggestions on ways that you want to contribute.
All right, thanks. What would you say are the most pressing concerns for anglers and water trail recreators based upon these findings? So what should residents and organizations be working on to make water cleaner and healthier?
I think the largest problem we have are the nutrients in the water and drought. There's not a lot we can do about drought. Then there's so much more to water quality than just what we do. Just providing the information, getting educated, and getting people involved is probably the most important thing.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts or plans for how this data can be integrated into projects and efforts in these watersheds?
Well, if we can use our data for trends, so as we're changing, putting conservation practices into play, we can look at the conservation practices and see if they're doing their job and if they're really truly improving the water quality. The more wetlands we put in, or the more, Amanda can talk more about the conservation practices that we do. So I'll let you jump in here.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Our data, can everyone hear me? I guess this is the first time I've talked.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ginny kind of hit the nail on the head. Our data can serve, especially with our 5-year baseline data that we put together in that report. 4 Mile Creek Greenway is a great example. We had a lot of data before we started putting conservation practices in there. So before we started working on the riparian area, creating a buffer along the creek, removing the houses, that type of stuff. So we have our before data. So now we can look at our after data. So now we can see, is the conservation that we're putting in place, are us doing these buffers along creeks and stuff, is it working? Is it improving water quality? And if not, what do we have to do differently? So that can be seen everywhere. I know John Swanson worked really hard upstream in 4 Mile doing his saturated buffers and bioreactors, kind of put in a lot in at once. So maybe we'll be able to see less nitrates, for example, because those practices are now installed. So we're watching those trends and seeing if there's differences after we install conservation practices compared to our, quote, baseline data, I guess you could call it.
Thanks. Did you have to work with any private landowners to get access to any sampling locations?
We have one site that I can think of that the access is behind their property, most easily accessible. So that was a landowner that we work with. For the most part, our sites are right off of a roadway, so there's public access right there, and there's bridge sampling often as well. So not too many sites. We've had to work with private landowners. There are a couple sites where we've had to move them, and we've reached out to them just to let them know what we're doing, and usually they're excited to learn more about the educational process of the whole monitoring program. So for the most part, it's public access area.
Okay. What about salt issues? Those accumulate and don't go away. Why are we seeing them in the summer now? Do you have any plans for education or action to improve or reduce salts?
Take it away, Amanda.
Yeah. So this is an issue that we have noticed clearly. It's a pretty big issue that we've seen. We're not alone in seeing this issue. This is something that's been seen nationally, actually, is an increase in salinity in our interior water bodies, so our streams and stuff like that. We've been tracking it. We've seen the trends in the summer. Our initial thoughts are, okay, is it from our salt use in the winter, then making it down into the groundwater? And so it's seeping into our streams during the summer months because it's in our groundwater, because it's in those kind of lower areas like aquifers, blah, blah, blah. So that's a potential. Chloride can also be an indication of different contaminants. So if you see chloride, it could be something related to like a wastewater issue. So either treatment isn't occurring like it should, or it could be a leaky sanitary sewer, something like that too. But we just don't know right now. So our plan is, I'm currently in graduate school. And so as my graduate project, I will be working likely with Claire Ruby with Drake University, and we'll be diving deeper into this chloride issue. So looking at ways we can do almost a form of source tracking on chloride to see if we can look for other things that may come along with chloride that can indicate where it's coming from. So, we could test for example, we could maybe test for caffeine and see if there's caffeine present, and maybe then we can know that it's a wastewater source of chloride or it's from wastewater treatment of chloride. So different elements like that. So we're definitely looking at it. Once we get this information back and kind of get more of a feel of where this is coming from, I think we'll really start looking at the educational piece. So Ginny's already worked on it a little bit with some salting practices, kind of getting some education outreach out there about the proper ways to salt sidewalks, driveways. But I think we'll probably hit that harder as we move forward. And I know ISWEP is also kind of looking at that as well, now that they know this issue is so big in Des Moines.
All right, thank you. There's another suggestion, perhaps water softeners as a source of chloride.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, another question. What do you notice about the water quality and stormwater in 4 Mile? We have a lot of new developments in this watershed, so there must be an influence from stormwater.
I know you've dove into 4 Mile a lot, Amanda, with your conservation work. Do you want to fill this one as well?
Yep. So we've definitely seen some changes in 4 Mile because of the increased development. Now, luckily, some cities are looking at managing their stormwater more effectively. Unfortunately, with, of course, the new bill that was passed, that may be a little harder to do. So this is an issue that the watershed management authorities in general, so John Swanson is trying to tackle quite a bit. We haven't necessarily seen a huge difference in our monitoring data because of it. Maybe more chloride, especially in the winter months, due to more application of road salts. Des Moines we don't see a lot of, from Des Moines itself, a lot of chloride issues in the streams from road salt application. I think it's because they're using different things besides just salt. But in terms, I would say that's really the biggest difference we've noticed is kind of a little more chloride in the urban areas in 4 Mile and that's mostly just in the winter. We haven't really noticed as much of a hit of chloride in the summer months as we do in some of our other streams. But that's probably the only thing we've noticed, unless Ginny, you can think of something else in terms of like what our data is showing. We haven't really noticed a big difference in our data, mostly just flows. Of course, we're noticing just looking at 4 Mile, it's carrying a lot more flows because, and a lot quicker after storm events because of the impervious surfaces that are increasing.
All right, thanks. Any other questions? I'll give you guys 10 seconds.
Brutal.
Hey,
All right.
Jenny, who's your favorite field monitor?
Hey, oh, I don't know, probably someone, let's see, Ray, maybe?
Gee, thanks.
Not baited at all.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for attending this presentation today. Thanks, Amanda and Ginny, for all of the great information. Once again, this is recorded, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on the Rain Campaign YouTube page. If you can't find that page, just let me know and I can email it to you. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.